Hello and welcome to the Rugby Paper Podcast. I am your host Ben Jaycock and I'm delighted to say I've been joined today by former Sale Sharks and Saracens prop James Flynn. James, English rugby was rocked last Saturday evening when your former club Sarries announced Tom Willis will be leaving the club at the end of the season, thus turning his back on his England career. The Rugby Paper's front page described it as a seismic blow to Steve Borthwick's plans. What's your take on the move?
Yeah, it's a huge loss for both Saracens. Firstly, of course, England rugby. I'll probably say he's been the most consistent forward, arguably, the last season and couple of months now. He was tearing up trees for Saracens last season, and I think he was a bit of something that we were missing over the last couple of years. Just consistent carrying, and he's proved his worth this last calendar 12 months. A huge loss for England rugby coming up to these kind of awesome series in Six Nations next year.
Definitely, because I think it is a bit of a problem position, number 8 for England. Obviously, they had Billy Vanapola, then after he went, it looked like Alex Dombrandt might come in and kind of fill that void. But his form for England just didn't quite replicate what he could do for Harlequins. Then we've got Ben Earl coming in, who's kind of more of an open side flanker than he is a number 8. I mean, he plays most of his club rugby with Saracens there. Yeah. You're always kind of looking for that kind of bruising number 8, kind of like Dwayne Vermeulen style. It seemed like England had it with Tom Willis, and this is why it's such a frustrating move that he was after an amazing summer against Argentina, both games he was brilliant. Against Italy in the Six Nations earlier this year, he started and scored an early try, and he looked amazing. He just looks like the perfect option going forward. I personally thought he was the Premiership's player of the season last year. I thought he was just unstoppable with his carrying and the numbers of metres gained and his carrying stats. They backed that up as well. I know Thomas Williams won the award in the end, but Willis obviously won number 8. Was number 8 in the Premiership team of the season. It all just aligned perfectly, and then it's just a big blow. The timing of it is quite weird as well, just ahead of the Autumn Nations series. That's obviously why Steve Borthwick's opted not to go with Willis. How do you think Steve Borthwick will plan moving forward? I mean, who do you think is going to be his number 8? Do you think he'll stick with Ben Earl? Do you think he'll maybe look at someone new like Chandler Cunningham-South has had quite a promising start to the season? He actually went toe-to-toe with Tom Willis and got the better of him actually only a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, where do you think that Borthwick will go? Because this isn't a position that England have got a lot of talent in the kind of on the shelves at the minute.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, to be honest, with your thoughts there. I think he'll probably go with Ben Earl at number 8 just because he has played there a few games and has played well there. I agree with you that he definitely is more of a 7 than an 8, but I think he has done a very good job there at 8 when needed to. And like you said, England are just missing that ball carrier that makes 25 carries a game, like Billy Vanapola used to do for England on years gone by. And I think it'll be one of those where someone will just pop up, whether it'll be in the pre-season for next season, where someone will be doing well from under 20s, or and there's actually some talk of Situtu as well, potentially for number 8 that I just saw as well, that potentially eyeing up over, I presume, family kind of ties fit from England. So interesting to see, but I definitely think Ben Earl will be the shot. He'd be my pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, Hoskins Tutu would be a very interesting move. He had a lot of noise around him when he was coming through with the Blues and Super Rugby, but he's gone a little bit quiet recently. He hasn't been in All Black squads. I know he's qualified for Fiji as well, I believe, so he might look to go that way. That would be an interesting one, but obviously someone they'd have to come over from Super Rugby into the Premiership, which kind of brings us on quite nicely into the RFU's eligibility rules at the minute. I say at the minute, they've always been there. The criteria around overseas-based players.
Yeah.
People like Ardy Survey have come out and said in the past that the All Blacks should change their ruling because when you look at other nations, i.e. South Africa, back-to-back world champions, their players play all over the world. And I was just thinking, look at the England football team. I mean, you've got Jude Bellingham playing for Real Madrid, Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. They're based obviously in foreign leagues, and if anything, their game has only accelerated as a result of that. The RFU has to protect the Premiership, and I totally get that. And personally, I'm actually behind the ruling, in a bit of an unpopular opinion, because I think if we allow players to play wherever they want, players will go to Japan, France, so many other leagues all around the world, that at a time when the Premiership needs all the eyeballs and people through the gates that it can get, if we then lose all of its stars, or I know not all of its stars, but a lot of its stars, then it may be in a bit of a tricky place, and it may see even more clubs in financial worry. What's your take on that ruling? Do you think players should be able to play around the world, or do you think they should have to play in the Prem?
With my playing cap on, I'm all for players being able to play wherever they want, within reason, of course. But like you just said, them with South African players, they're playing in Japan, some in France, England, and yet they're the best team in the world. So there must be something to do with what happens when they come to those international camps, the coaching they get there, their obviously allegiance to their country, their passion for playing for their country. And I think England maybe could do with players that gain different experiences playing all over the world, played in Japan, playing in France. Again for the forwards, playing in France, that will only ever make these forwards more experienced, battle hardened, and better when it comes to international rugby, because French rugby is a lot closer to international rugby in terms of the forwards than I would say the Premiership is. It's a gritty, hard-nosed battle of a season playing over in France, from what I've heard. So I think that can only benefit English rugby, especially in the pack. But then again, on the other side, like you just said, then the Premiership needs eyeballs. It needs our best players playing in the Prem. And as you've seen from other players, they go and get this experience and they come back. It's not something where you wave goodbye to them forever and they come back and they play for England and they play for the Premiership again. And like Henry Arundel played in France, he's come back. Other players get this experience and it'll only make them better as an individual and as a player. So I don't think there's ever going to be one answer to it, but I think people should be allowed to get some experiences and be able to live outside of England, basically.
Yeah, it's obviously an incredibly difficult one. I mean, you just have to look at Jack Willis right now, top 14 player of the season. He's captain Toulouse on a number of occasions. He's won everything that you can imagine in club rugby.
Yeah.
And yet he's still not eligible for England, which is a great shame for England supporters, because you would think he'd make a hell of an impact in Six Nations, World Cups, autumn internationals. But it's interesting, a bit like Jack, actually, that Tom Willis, it hasn't been smooth sailing for him. He hasn't just kind of emerged and waltzed into the England squad. It's taken Steve Borthwick quite a long time to eventually pick him and regularly, and even in the Six Nations, he was still opting to go with other number eights, i.e. Ben Earl and Henry Pollock off the bench as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's come into it. Maybe he's just got frustrated that other players who maybe aren't your traditional number eights are getting picked ahead of him. I remember Jack Willis was it was very strange. He was making a lot of appearances from the bench. He scored against Italy as well, actually, during sort of COVID time, but never was really allowed to kick on from there. And then he decided, okay, I'm going to go to Toulouse, on a short-term contract, and then decided, right, I'm not going to find a way back in as a regular starter. I mean, it's obviously a very competitive position when you've got the likes of Tom Curry and Sam Underhill at the time. But do you think if Jack Willis and Tom Willis would be available, would they walk straight into the England team, or do you think when England have still got great back rows like the ones I mentioned, Tom Curry, Underhill, that it would be probably people like the thing that they can't get? And do you think maybe actually even if they were still in the Prem, that they wouldn't quite be a guaranteed starter?
Well, it's a difficult one because Jack obviously has had a few injury worries. He seems to be doing all right over in Toulouse. Whether that's just the lifestyle seems to fit him. Again, like everyone is different. Everyone enjoys different things, and whether he enjoys being in France, that suits his lifestyle and his family and his playing kind of style, and even the treatment and the physio and everything that you get over there. Obviously, it was working well for him right now. So it all depends on the situation you're in and who you're in it with, which will how you best play your best rugby. But in terms of walking starter, I mean, I'd definitely have to say that Tom Willis should be, of course, if he was in the squad now. I mean, fair play to him for announcing that he was leaving this early in the season, because I think that's the best thing to do. Is up front, people know where you're coming from then, and you can just enjoy the rest of the season without any pressure and try to hide anything. But Jack, of course, again, he's been absolutely killing it over in France. He's the man over there from what it looks like, and I think he's just happy with his life as it is over there. Of course, international honours may come in the near future. He may decide, right, I've done my time in France, I'll come back, and then he starts again from there. But I just think what is meant to be for these players is meant to be where they're playing, who they're playing it with, in the team, and everything that's around them at the time. Because there's so many factors that can affect how you play, and at the minute, everything's just right to fit in. But if he moves back, it might not be. You never know.
Exactly, that's such a good point. And it's not all doom and gloom though for English rugby, and particularly Saracens at the minute. They've obviously lost Tom Willis, kind of long term. They've got until the end of the season. But one star that really shined on Saturday against another one of your former clubs, Sale Sharks, was Noah Kaluri. I mean, 5 tries, and they weren't just walk-ins. They were incredible solo efforts. And it wasn't just that; he was winning possession back all the time for his team, as Saracens were really particularly kind of exploiting that aerial mismatch with Aaron Reid. He just looks like someone that you can play through, and with the new escort laws as well, it's really looking great for him. And I say 5 tries; it was practically 6 tries, because one of his aerial dominance actually resulted in a penalty try. So, I mean, to basically score 6 tries as a 19-year-old, he looks like a hell of a talent. What were your thoughts on him? Have you seen much of him before in the under-20s or the Saracens Academy?
I didn't see much of him in the academy. I'd kind of heard his name, and obviously you see little bits and bobs on Instagram, and obviously a few games before when he scored on his debut as well, and then he actually played for Amptill the week before. He scored the 5 tries against Sale, and I think he scored 3 then as well in that game. And again, as a raw athlete, I mean, when you're kicking and asking someone like that to go and chase the ball, he can't really get much better than that. And to score 5 tries against, again, what I suspected to be quite a dominant team in the Prem this season in Sale Sharks. I mean, what a hell of a game. Like, his Instagram's gone crazy. I looked at it the other day. Multi-thousands of followers. He's killing it. So hopefully he gets the support he needs and gets the trust he deserves. And well, of course, he's still a young lad. So he's got another, 15 years ahead of him, which is a luxury not many people can say these days, but he's made a hell of a start in his career for sure.
He certainly has. I mean, that is just staggering. That, like when you say that he has practically got 15 years ahead of him. Already, he's been called up to the England training squad for the autumn internationals, which is obviously an amazing news for him and his family. Do you expect to see much of him during the autumn? I mean, the only, I don't want to sound all kind of doom and gloom and your traditional English journalist kind of shooting down the next big thing, but the only thing is he hasn't really been tested properly defensively. He's obviously an amazing under the high ball, which kind of test rugby is vital for any budding winger. But you just feel like maybe if he has a debut against Australia and has a bit of a nightmare, and we've seen that so many times before, that the press and the pressure around him could kind of eat him up. I mean, would you throw him in there? Maybe the Fiji game, perhaps? I'm not sure.
Well, it's funny you say that, but a lot of players, I've seen some games where you play Fiji, and a lot of teams play Fiji as a warm game, and it turns out like you've spent a night in A&E playing against Fiji. Those people absolutely bang you. So I personally wouldn't put him against Fiji. I think, again, if it were me being Steve Borthwick, it would be nice just to get him in the camp, see what he's made of in that environment, training, in that competitive environment. Test him, see what he's like, his durability's like, and just use it as experience. Again, he's only had a few Premiership caps, so I think it would be not unfair, but I think those that have played Prem for a good few years now, played international, already got 5 to 20, 30 caps, deserve that starting shirt. You never know, it could be a chance off the bench. But at the very least, an experience in that camp will prove vital over the next couple of years, and someone to obviously hang your hat on, ready for the next World Cup, potentially.
Absolutely. I mean, during the Eddie Jones era, he kind of described bringing young players in, like Marcus Smith, obviously, as apprentices. That was the key buzzword that he used around bringing in young talent. I mean, I remember even Italy international with Jacob Umaga one of his apprentices so long ago. Paolo Adogwu as well, who now plays for Italy. So yeah, it's probably a good idea actually on the surface of him to get him in, get him used to that environment. But yes, so I think that brings us on very nicely to pick our England forward pack together for those autumn international tests against Australia, then Fiji, New Zealand and Argentina as well. So a nice mix. First time in a long time, I think, that England aren't playing South Africa in the autumn, but it's good to have New Zealand over here again for a second straight year. I'm sure George Ford in particular want to get revenge after his missed last gasp drop goal in that game at Twickenham last autumn. So we'll start off, James. Your expertise is obviously all around the front row. Who's kind of screaming out at loose head prop, hooker and tight head prop? Who do you think are kind of your dream front row for those test matches that are coming up starting next weekend?
I mean, go loose head prop, obviously. Ellis Genge has got to be a starter. He had a really good Lions tour, so coming off the back of that, should be fresh, ready to go. So definitely Ellis Genge at loose head. I'm going to ask your opinion on hooker in a minute because I'm interested to see your thoughts. But tight head, I'm going to go with Joe Hayes. I think he's been, I think he's been really, really good the last few seasons. Obviously learning from Dan Cole over the last, probably not far off, 10 years now, really, 5 to 10 years. He's been doing really, really well. And he's been getting some penalties of scrum time for Leicester, which is crucial, especially international rugby and towards the end of last international season. He's been doing pretty well. So I'd definitely go Joe Hayes at tight head and Ellis Genge at loose head. So I'll just, before I speak my mind, I want to hear what you think on that hooker first.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I think you're right. Ellis Genge is a shoe-in at number one. I was very surprised he went for Joe Hayes. Maybe he's just someone who goes under the radar a little bit. But Will Stewart obviously went on the Lions tour. Seemed like he was, brought up 50 caps for England during the Six Nations. And then you got the Asher Opoku-Fulgur, who's obviously just an absolute menace and incredible player. So maybe Hayes probably doesn't get the plaudits he deserves. So interesting short. A hooker, I've gone for Luke Cowan-Dickie. I know he got sent off last Saturday, which wasn't probably great timing. That's actually been rescinded though, which is a good timing for England. The way I look at it is I looked at the stats and Sale Sharks had the best line out across the Premiership. I've said that a few times on multiple podcasts, I know, but that is your bread and butter. And if you're doing that week in, week out, he's obviously so good in the loose as well. You know, it's great in the driving more. Pick and goes. His tackling technique maybe is a little bit risky at times, more for himself than anyone else. But no, I think Cowan-Dickie deserves the shirt. I do like Jamie George a lot. He's a great leader in the camp. Obviously was England captain. And then you got Theo Dan as well as the other option, but I maybe don't think he's lived up to his potential just yet. Trying to maybe hoping for a bit more. So I think Cowan-Dickie is the right choice personally. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I couldn't agree more, to be honest. He, like you said then, he's been like Mr. Reliable, you could say, for Sale, really. Like I said, line out. But I'd say just his tackling and his carrying, his rucking, just the more of the unseen, niggly front row work that he gets through in the games, which obviously as a front rower I pick up on and I see quite a lot and see quite easily. And he's just been unreal, and he's developed his dominant tackling game, I think, over the last year or two, as well as the chop, which, like you just said, is absolute shin breaker. He's developed his dominant tackling as well, which is pretty important.
Okay, well that seals things. So Genge, Cowan-Dickie, and Hayes is our England front row. Into the second row, I think Maro Itoje, obviously captain, will be at number 4. But who plays number 5 in George Martin's absence through injuries is a really interesting one. You've got a few options there. Do you go with Ollie Chesham? Do you have him at 6? Do you have Alex Coles, who was brilliant? I watched him last week against Newcastle. He was outstanding. Or do you go for Nick Ezekwe? It's been quite a while since we've seen him on the international stage. Where do you think Borthwick will go? Where do you think he should go?
I think Borthwick will probably go with the same option that I will go for, and that'll be Ollie Chesham. Again, I think his style fits quite well with Maro. Maro is, again, obviously, another word I'm going to use it again, Mr. Reliable. Like, he plays so many minutes, and touch wood, he seems to get through them unscathed game after game. Played a lot of minutes on the Lions tour again, had a good rest. And I think Maro and Chesham is a great mix. Chesham gets through the tough work, rucks, carrying. He hits lads hard as well. And with Maro's line-out calling ability, I think he got a good mix there in those two.
Do you think 2 is enough line-out jumpers? Does that mean that he could go for more of a kind of maybe a Jacqueline back row that isn't quite as big, or would you like to have 3 jumpers, i.e. maybe someone like Cunningham South at 6, or maybe put Chesham at 6? Where do you think he'll go with that? Because it's about trying to find that blend, isn't it? People often forget about how important the line-out is, but I think we saw in those Lions warm-up games that when Andy Farrell didn't go for as many line-out jumpers and put all the emphasis on Itoje, it kind of went to it didn't quite click. So where do you think he goes for 2? Do you think he goes for 3? It's quite an important detail that I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah, I think you have to go for 3. Of course, all the back rows can jump, but I mean, you're not getting anywhere near as clean a ball as you would do if you had someone like a Cunningham South as well as a Chesham and a Maro. Then you've got 3 options, and you can call accordingly. You can keep calling wherever you want in that line out. Whereas you are slightly limited, like you just said then, and teams do pick it off. Because if I was defending that, I'd be like, he's not going up, and then just I'll put pressure on the other 2. So you definitely need 3 for sure. I think he will go with, not jumping the gun, but I think he will go with Cunningham South at 6.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Definitely. I mean, personally, I had Coles as at second row, and then Chesham at 6. But I'm very happy to get Cunningham South in there. He's had a really good start to the season, and if he is going to be in contention for the number 8 shirt going forward, then he needs a few more caps. And to be fair, whenever he's actually played for England, he's been outstanding. I remember like him against Wales in the Six Nations. He came off the bench, was unplayable. Against Australia last year, he was well up for that. Remember that huge hit against the All Blacks, and he kind of revved up the crowd. He's just someone that you really want on your side, definitely. So that brings us on very nicely. Also, we got Ben Earl at number 8. That's done. Open side flanker is such a difficult one when you've got Guy Pepper, Henry Pollock. Obviously, we would have Tom Curry, Sam Underhill as well. Or a guy we haven't actually spoke about is Emeka Ilione, who can play across the back row. I mean, he's been really impressed by his starts of the season. He had a great Premiership final, scoring that try from the bench. He's an ex-England under-20s captain as well. I mean, he's a real talent. I expect him to feature at some point across this Autumn Nations series. Who do you think he's going to go for, though, starting at number 7?
I think Borthwick likes going off players that he trusts and that he's had over the years gone by and that he knows can perform, as well as sprinkling a few here and there when he needs to. But I think he'll go Underhill. I think he'll go Underhill to start off with. But with potentially Pollock off the bench, which he does, he plays, because sometimes it's difficult because some players are out and out starters and aren't good off the bench, and you get some players that are great off the bench and potentially aren't quite as good at starting. Yes, at club, but international would be better off the bench. And I think that power and that dynamism, I think it would be better with Underhill to start and then Pollock off the bench. That's what I would personally go for.
I like that. Obviously, Underhill, very experienced, loads of caps now, but has kind of fallen down the pecking order, I think, in recent years. It had that amazing 2019 World Cup and then just due to injuries and things, and Bath's form being so poor after then. Obviously now it's back and they're Premiership winners. Which is why I've actually thrown in Guy Pepper. I think I like what you said about Henry Pollock from the bench. I mean, Pollock actually hasn't started yet for Northampton this season, which is quite surprising after the Lions tour. Not really sure why that is. I just think while Pollock is obviously more exciting, his highlight reel is a lot better than Pepper's or even Underhill's, because no one can do. He's like having an extra winger on the pitch. I just think international rugby is so important about jackal turnovers, and I think Guy Pepper is just so underrated in that aspect. He's a durable forward, just I think really calm, composed. Whereas I've seen Pollock a few times, and Phil Dowson's opened up on this before, saying that we're obviously really pleased with Henry Pollock with where he is, but he does have a tendency to compete for every single breakdown, and a lot of them are just completely unwinnable. You can't win every single breakdown, and then that kind of drags you out of the defensive line. Whereas maybe Pepper's a bit more smarter and shrewd in the jackals that he goes for. I think that's a very interesting one, and I totally agree with you. Last 20 minutes, I think Pollock coming on the off the bench is really exciting for any England fan. So yeah, we've got a toss up between Pepper or Underhill.
Well, I went for Chesham in the lock, so I'll give you Guy Pepper the flank. I'll happily do that. I think it's a good choice, very good choice. And like you say, I mean, for Bath last season, and obviously he earned his call up from that. You don't win that many games and play that well for nothing, and obviously, hopefully, that will kind of carry on. And people do deserve a chance. Like if you don't give them a chance, you'll never know. So, yeah. I like Guy Pepper as a choice at open side flanker.
Yes, absolutely. Then it comes on to the bench, because the bench now in rugby is equally as important as the starting 15, because we've seen how South Africa, their bomb squad and things, have 5-3, 6-2, 7-1, 8-0. Do you think he's going to go 5-3? That's kind of what England usually do, or do you think he's going to maybe against Australia going to go up to 6-2? What do you think?
I think he'll only ever go 5-3. I can't see him doing a 6-2. It's not so much the England way, is it? People go, that's the way history dictates. I think a 5-3. I would like to see a 6-2, don't get me wrong, but I think a 5-3 would be the way it'll go.
Definitely. I mean, the only kind of caveat would be that if they do see Ben Earl as a potential inside centre, then maybe that allows you to put an extra forward on, because you know that he can slot in there. But yeah, I think you're right. He will go 5-3. Just the bench that I kind of drafted up was Jamie George. Then I went for Bevan Rodd, Will Stewart, Emeka Leone, and then I think Henry Pollock as well. Because obviously then you got Chesham and Atoje in the row, and then you've got Cunningham South that, if needed, can go into the row if he has to, or at number 8, of course.
Yeah. I do like Bevan Rodd. I think internationally, obviously, hasn't had that much game time over the last year or two. So I think he'll go Finn Baxter personally. That's not me saying that I would choose him over Bev, but I think Finn Baxter, Jamie George, Will Stewart definitely will be the front row. Emeka Leone, yes, again, versatile, can play in the row and back row. At number 8, you can play everywhere in the back 5. So that's like gold dust for someone that can do that. And again, that's proven experience off the bench. He's a good bench player, like you saw from Leicester last season. He'd score every time he comes on. That's just a power that not many people have, and I think England are looking for someone like that. And then, with, like you say, with Ben Earl playing centre, Pollock, could we see him there as well in the backs? You never know, and in the back row, it's definitely something that could happen. So yeah, I think Leone, Pollock, and the other 3 that I mentioned would be the 5 on the bench.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much nailed on. And then just in terms of what do you think England can expect from these 4 games? What would represent a successful Autumn Nations series? It's It's a time of year that England have struggled in recent years under firstly Eddie Jones, and Borthwick hasn't quite had a I don't think he's had a particularly good autumn whatsoever. Probably lost more games than he's won. Do you think he's got to win all four? Do you win at least three?
Of course, obviously hoping for 4 wins, but I think being a little bit more, not cautious, but a bit more sensible. I think if we win 3 games, that's a hell of a win. And depending on the New Zealand game, that's a toss up for the 4th win potentially. But I think as much as winning games, sometimes it's about seeing players perform and getting the performances right, and seeing new players come in and perform when needed to, whether that's off the bench or to start or to get the roles right, and all these little things all add up. Of course, 4 out of 4 would be amazing, but it's also about what comes into next year and seeing those players get blooded ready for the next World Cup, because that isn't too far away when you think about it.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, there's no point winning all the games in the autumn and then getting to the World Cup and kind of having already reached your peak.
Yeah.
We've got a piece in this week's paper with Pat Lam talking about 4G pitches and whether they're adding to his crazy early season injury toll. I mean, you've seen Gloucester and Bristol are the two that have just on their bare bones. We've never seen anything like it. Their injury record right now. Do you think there's anything in the fact that these 4G pitches are springing up a few more injuries than other clubs, or do you think it's just bad fortune that these 2 clubs have got where they are?
I think a bit of both. Obviously, rugby being a contact sport, you do pick up a lot of injuries. But I definitely think 4G pitches have a negative effect on those injury rates. It's just so unforgiving, really. Kind of, especially when you're landing and your studs get locked and you're twisting your knee, twisting your ankle, or you're landing on your shoulder. It just doesn't have the forgiveness that grass does. Of course, has its benefits that you can play on it all year round. It doesn't freeze, it doesn't get wet, it doesn't get muddy. We know all that, but that's what rugby's about for me. Rugby is about that, and the changing from September to kind of May, June, how those pitches do change and how you react as a team accordingly. So whether there is a bit of a thing over the next few years where we start to see them go the other way and people are changing their pitches back to grass or not, I'm not sure. But I think there definitely is something in it that these pitches are causing injuries. And like I said, then those 2 teams, whether it's convenient that it's because they have pitches, I'm not sure. But I think there'll be an argument that it is potentially a pitch as well.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the only kind of benefit of 4G pitches, it obviously creates a faster, more expansive game, but also means that certainly in the lower leagues that you don't need to call any games off. You obviously look at whenever it's a big storm or frozen grounds. You look at the national leagues, which you know well, that tends to be the only games that are on, or the likes of Hornets and things in National 2 West that have got these 4G pitches, Loughborough Students as well. Yeah, they're the ones that can survive the bad weather. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? I'm not so sure. I think it might just be down to bad fortune, but I can see Pat Lam's frustration definitely. And James, obviously after your time in the Premiership with Saracens and Sale Sharks, you obviously had a really nice spell at Ampthill, which we spoke about off air just before recording. And then now you've kind of retired from full-time rugby. You're still working with Rosendale in National 2 North. Yeah. And you're a teacher as well. So tell us about your kind of life post professionalism.
Yeah, so obviously everyone's time comes, and mine came. I started to kind of whilst I was at Ampthill, I was getting into the education, and I absolutely love it. I never thought I'd enjoy working with kids as much as I do. They're a great laugh, especially when they give you a bit of chat and you can give it back to them. There's nothing more enjoyable than that. But at Rosendale, we're doing well. Obviously, I'm coaching as well as playing, so I'm testing my coaching skills out as well, and I'm still playing. But I think this weekend we've got Otley at home, which is a must-win game. Then we've got a week off next week. So it's all hands on deck for this game for the weekend against Otley. which will be tough at home, but I think if you come away with some points, then that's a really good start to the season, and should secure us around middle table, which is good considering we've just come into National 2 this season. So if we stay there throughout the next few months and see how we go towards the end of the season, I think that's going to be a really good first season in that too.
It certainly would be. And how have you found playing in National 2 North? Has it been kind of the standard that you expected, or have you been impressed by the physicality? People often do say that the physicality is just kind of comes out of nowhere in National 2 North. It's a really brutal league.
Yeah, it's been a lot more physical than I was expecting, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it's I've been having to play out our position as well. So on a Sunday morning, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. It's not quite what I was expecting. Whether that's my age now, I'm getting a little bit older, or the physicality in this league, I'm not sure. But it definitely is a lot more physical, and the skill level's really high, really high. And there's some good teams, really good teams. So it's going to be a dogfight in the season who's going to go up into Nat 1. But yeah, I've been really impressed so far with the standard in that too. And there's some good players in this league who, if you play well here, who knows what can happen.
Yes, it certainly seems like Sheffield at the minute in National 2 North seem like the team to beat, but we've seen in the past that the leagues can go any way. You don't want to peak too early, but do you feel like Sheffield they seem like the top side?
Going off this first round for sure. Again, not sure whether I'm biased, but I wasn't actually playing in the game when we played them up at Sheffield. It was horizontal rain. We didn't have a full strength side out. But not putting them down, but I think they're not as good as the results may show. Of course, any side on the day, of course, they destroyed us on the day. But I think at home, dry pitch potentially, full strength team, I think it would be a different story. So, and that's a testament to the league as well. Anyone can win a game. There's been a few upsets already. But of course, Sheffield are the form team results-wise, and they're a well-drilled, huge pack as well. They're absolutely humongous, which helps. Size, I mean, you can't beat weight and size up front in that too.
Yes, well, Sheffield at home certainly one to circle in the calendar. I mean, the job that Anthony Poster has done there is phenomenal, really. They've just been promoted into International 2 itself the last few years, and now they seem like they're leading the way. This week's paper, you can enjoy in-depth analysis of the England squad, more reaction to Tom Willis's dramatic exit, Noah Kaluri's dramatic 5-try display last weekend, with Brendan Gallagher is saying get him in as soon as possible into that England team, and an exclusive interview with Tom Roebuck as well. There's also a reaction to Louis Rees-Zammit back in the Wales setup, and an interview with Northampton centre Rory Hutchinson on Scotland. There's also a little chat with Emily Scarrett after her retirement, leading into the PWR and return to action of Red Roses, World Cup stars. Also a piece, as I mentioned before, with Pat Lamb talking about 4G pitches and whether they are adding to his crazy early season injury toll. But follow the QR code to subscribe to the Rugby Paper, and make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you, James, for joining us. Thank you as well for joining us. See you next week.